So for the last week or so, we got the announcement of a new cricket game coming from Big Ant Studios called Cricket 19. Now this game is meant to be the official game of the Ashes, so it'll have all the licenses and all that, and we'll go through those in just a minute. It's coming out for PlayStation 4, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch, and apparently a PC version will follow on Steam shortly after that. Now in terms of new stuff, new game modes and all that, we're going to be getting a new scenario mode, which is a classic kind of game mode that you've no doubt seen in other sports games over the years, basically allowing you to create and play through classic scenarios from different games throughout history. What's interesting here is that it says it allows you to create game modes and share them online, which is pretty cool. But the question is, will the game come with any pre-made challenges there in the game ready for you to play? I've seen games in the past do scenario mode really well, where they've managed to not only create the scenario, but they've brought, players from that era. They've gone with visual style and visual effects to make it look like that era. So if it was back in the times of black and white TV, they've given it that kind of look and those kind of style of the clothes and all that kind of stuff, which is the real kind of top end. I wouldn't expect that from this game. It's probably just going to be with whatever squads they have in game. But obviously with the custom creation tools that Big Ant have in their cricket game, it's not going to be too much of a problem for players to create players from that era to really create a good replica of the actual scenario they're trying to recreate. The other bit of new information we get is that in career mode, headlines will affect your player's career trajectory. Now what that exactly means is quite interesting. It obviously gives the impression that maybe you create a certain kind of persona and personality for your player. Perhaps they could be known as kind of a bit of a pest, a bit of a nuisance out there on the field. Maybe they could be known as the good sportsman and all that kind of stuff. That is really cool. How in depth that goes, I don't know. But it's a cool bit of story, I guess, to add to your career. Add a bit more depth rather than just being purely based on stats and play and all that kind of stuff. It'll be nice to add a bit of personality to your character in some way. Now with this news, we also get some screenshots of the game to give us a bit of a first look. Graphically, it actually looks really good. It looks like it's a step up on the previous game that came out, I think, 2 years ago. We really see how far this kind of face scan technology is coming. I think we've seen with other games in the past from Big Ant and from other studios in Australia here, like Wicked Witch for the AFL Evolution games. We've seen just how good that face scan technology is getting now and the amount of detail we can see in real life players. And this is no different in these screenshots. We see phenomenal detail on these players and improvements from the previous title, which is pretty exciting. Obviously this adds to the realism of the whole thing, so that's pretty cool. As far as how many players are licensed, we're not too sure. We know Australia and England are licensed in the game in terms of the test sides and all that. I think it's for both men and women. Is there any more licenses on top of that? I don't know. It doesn't say anything about it here, but it is in question. Obviously, Big Ant recently released Big Bash Boom video game based on the Big Bash League, and that was completely licensed for that league. So does that license, could that have carried across to this game? Obviously Big Ant knew they were making this Cricket 19 game while they were working on Big Bash Boom, you would presume. So did they have the foresight to try and get the license for both? As we know with previous cricket games, this is one of those sports that's just nearly impossible to get all the licenses for unless you have a ton of money to spend, which Big Ant obviously don't. So we know their custom creation tools are good. We know we've seen in the past with cricket games how the community has managed to really build and create these teams that aren't licensed. Don Bradman Cricket 17 was one of the first games in Big Ant's cricket game series that really added the ability to create custom uniforms and stuff like that, and it really made it so that we didn't need the licenses. It gave us workarounds for all those things. But obviously the difference between licensed and non-licensed, even with these great custom creation tools, is a huge difference. So will we have any more licenses in the game? I'm doubtful, but we'll see. Now the big question is this a brand new game, with a ton of new features, or is it just kind of the previous Ashes Cricket game with a few improvements and tweaks? I've seen some people talking online about how this is just the old game with some additions. I don't know, I think it's 2 years after the last cricket game, at least the last full simulation style cricket game that Big Ant did. So usually that means it should be the next fully fledged title. I think it's coincided with this next Ashes series. So with Big Ant, I expect this to be the next kind of iteration in their cricket series, rather than just a quick copy of the previous Ashes game with a few improvements and tweaks. So guys, let us know in the comments below, what do you think about this news for Cricket 19, the announcement? Are you excited to see another simulation style game after Big Bash Boom? Are you looking forward to some of these changes and improvements we've heard about so far? But yeah, let us know your thoughts down below, and until next time, I guess I'll see you later.